Hi there, I'm Leah.
And I'm Steve, and we're the hosts of a podcast called Remnant Stew.
We release an episode every other week that features weird, bizarre, and intriguing true stories.
That's right, we track down and bring to you some of the weirdest stories and trivia, like the shrimp that spits up a glowing loogie, or the turtle that survived being locked up in a room and forgotten for 30 years.
Or that time a shark on display in an aquarium puked up a human arm that sparked off a murder investigation remains unsolved to this day.
I love that story.
So if you need a break from the news and want something to satisfy a curious mind, then tune in to Remnant Stew. We're available on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcast, or any of your favorite podcast platforms.
We hope you'll tune in and join the adventure. And in the meantime, as always, please remember to be kind and always stay curious.
It's it's episode 100. Oh, I am so drunk. Oh, this computer monitor is very bright. Oh, God. It's episode 100 of Our Weird World. I'm going to try to make it through this. No promises. Here we go. Let's start the show.
Our Weird World.
Welcome to Our Weird World. I am your host, Drunk John. And, oh boy, it's Valentine's Day, according to my notes. Happy Valentine's Day. Love you. Love all. I don't love anybody except my wife and my family, because that's the rules. I have to do that. So, as you know, I, in celebration of 100 episodes, oh, I'm breaking into random fits of laughter, which is, I mean, it's better than random fits of crying. But yeah, I'm in celebration of 100 episodes. I got real sloppy, real sloshy boy over here. And let me tell you how I did it. All right. When your wife is a bourbon connoisseur and you're not, but you want to be supportive and sometimes do some things too, you have other things in your liquor cabinet that she does not like, but you like it because you like sweet things. You're a fruity boy. And when you don't drink that often, you sometimes amass a collection. You just got to go through it. So we got this nice liquor cabinet from Crate and Barrel. I'm not like rich or anything. It was a gift card. I had a gift card. And so here's what I did. All right, here's what I did. I did 12 I did 12 different liquors / liqueurs. All right, I've got this big mug. It's big. It's a big mug. Some would call it a German Stein. It is a German Stein. Anyway, and I got I got to breathe. I got to remember to breathe. I got all of the liquors and liqueurs out of the cabinet that I like. Or, well, that's not true. I got all the ones out. I got everything out. And I put in, check this out. I put in some straight corn whiskey, some tequila, some gin, some vodka, some brandy, and some rum, and some like Red Stag, that black cherry whiskey, some apple cider whiskey, some blue curacao, some raspberry liqueur, some sweet vermouth, and there's one more. And I got to think about what it is. No, I said that already. Oh God, what was it? It's already too much, but there's one more. It's going to bother me if I don't figure it out. Sweet vermouth is a flavor? Was it a flavor? Southern Comfort. That's what it was. And basically, if you're wondering, if you're curious, I'm not done. I also put in some like sour mix like you do for margaritas and some grenadine and some of that bold Canada Dry ginger ale, just to even it off a little bit. Here's the thing though. Once I put the ice in the mug, it was like almost full of just straight liquor. And this is like a 32-ounce mug. So there wasn't as much ginger ale in there as I would have liked. But here's the thing, you guys. I know when I said all of those ingredients, you were probably like, ugh. But if I'm being honest, like it didn't taste that bad. All right? Like it tasted like cough syrup. And I'm not going to lie to you, I enjoy cough syrup, all right? Whether it's Dimetap or Benadryl or Robitussin, I am a fan. I also like the Vicks cough syrups. They're great too. I love a good cough syrup, all right? And that's what this tasted like. And it was pretty dope, all right? I could be a mixologist if I wanted. But, I'm not. Instead, I'm doing a podcast. Drunk. Anyway, what's our topic this week? Thank you for asking. It is Yahweh Ben Yahweh. He's a cult guy. And I love cults. Cults are silly. And this was a fun cult. So let me try to get through this story without throwing up or falling asleep. I'm not going to fall asleep. I feel pretty good. But throwing up, that's a wild card right now because I had 2 chicken tenders to balance this out. It's probably not. I probably should have done a little bit more. Whew. But we're going to see what happens. All right? It's a story time. Mitchell Jr. was born on October 27th, 1935, to a Pentecostal minister in Oklahoma. Now, I know you're thinking, wait a minute. I thought you said that this is about a guy named Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Well, yeah, it is. We're going to get to that. Just trust me. Hulan Mitchell Jr., he grew up in Oklahoma, and he joined the Air Force, and then he got married, as some people do. And then he returned back to Oklahoma and joined the Rosicrucians. I nailed that pronunciation. That's a crazy-looking word, but even drunk, your boy still has good pronunciation skills. But who are the Rosicrucians? Well, I'll tell you who they are. They are a secret society, not unlike the Freemasons, but they believe, unlike the Freemasons, that people can develop mental powers to achieve wealth and happiness. Basically, it's like Scientology, but without all the aliens. All right. So the Rosicrucians, shockingly, proved to be too crazy for Mitchell's new wife, so she divorced him, and that's always sad. I would be sad if I got divorced. And so Mitchell was somehow awarded custody of the couple's children. I don't know how he managed that. But look, if we're being honest, all right, this isn't racist. This isn't, I felt some people's buttholes get tense when I said that. But it's true, all right, because Hulan Mitchell Jr., he's a black guy, all right? Not sure if you're aware of that, by the name Hulan. But that's not a very white name. But he's a black guy. And typically, the stereotype is that black gentlemen are not exactly very present fathers with their children. But he was, man. Credit to Hulan Mitchell Jr. for being like, nah, I want my kids, and we're going to go to Atlanta. And that's not me being racist. He literally went to Atlanta, where he then joined the Nation of Islam and then changed his name to Hulan X, which is like Malcolm X, but like Dollar General version, maybe. The Nation of Islam, I'm sure you are aware in your historical studies, rose to prominence during the Civil Rights Movement and spread the message that black people needed to protect themselves and fight back against the, quote, white devils. I am a white devil. I don't know, but I am. I don't mean to be. I'm sorry, black people, for being a white devil. But that's me. I'm a white devil. And that message really resonated with Mitchell, who then went out and started his own church and then spent the rest of his time really aggressively street preaching. I don't know what he was saying. I don't know where he was in Atlanta. It's probably in the black neighborhoods, just being like, stupid crackers with their being white, with their with their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and their bologna, both the meat and the silly things that they think and say. They're stupid. Screw those white devils. You should not. Just not. In 1967, though, he was accused of stealing $50,000 from his church and also molesting the children in his church. And that's not good. That's not good. But remember how I said this was a cult? This is a story about a cult earlier. So that's what that's all about. Because you can't have a cult when unless you're molesting the kids. So here we go. Rather than wait for the investigation into these allegations to convict him or potentially end up assassinated like Malcolm X, Mitchell moved to a different part of Atlanta. I have a nose hair in my nose, and it's bothering me because it's itchy. I'm sorry. Mitchell, he moved to a different part of Atlanta and became a faith healing preacher, kind of like Pat Robertson or Benny Hinn. I don't know how the end of the song goes, but like those guys. And then he changed his name to Father Mitchell, and he started a radio program with another faith healer named Father Joan. Is it? I don't know. I don't know if it was Father Jones, and I just made a typo. Now I'm insecure. I don't know. He started a radio show with another guy, you guys. And it was quickly rediscovered by the Nation of Islam Muslims, who they were still a little salty about Father Mitchell diddling their little kids, because that's not cool, regardless of what your religion is. No God, whether it's Jesus or Allah or Buddha or whichever one is the main god of Hinduism or any of them. None of them are cool with molesting kids, all right? And so Father Joan, I wrote it here again a second time, so it's probably his name. Father Joan was assassinated like Malcolm X. But even when that happened, Mitchell continued to scam people out of thousands of dollars with claims that he's going to heal them. He's like, yo, dogs, I'm going to heal you. Just give me some money and I can do it. Because like Allah, he'd have done it for free. Muhammad probably would have done it for free. But Father Mitchell, he got some bills to pay. All right? Like Muhammad and Allah, they didn't have taxes, dog. They didn't have insurance to pay. They didn't have cable bills and stuff. But I do, because this is, what year is this? It's in 1970s. So I got bills, and so I need some money. But he didn't really have very many bills, and they were giving him money. So Father Mitchell, as he's known now, he opened the Modern Christian Church, which is weird because he was Muslim. I think that's how I would think that if you're in the Nation of Islam, you identify as a Muslim person. But now he opens the Modern Christian Church. So he's like, jump sides, man. How crazy is that? And so he then starts wearing these crazy outfits, like white satin tunics with zebra stripes and a gold crown. And he started carrying around a scepter like he's king of the black people or something. And he was claiming that God, like Christian God, I think, he wanted everyone to be rich. And so if you want to be rich, according to Father Mitchell here, you got I lost my place. You got to tithe your earnings. And like, I know this is Atlanta, the black part of Atlanta, known as Atlanta, and you're not making a whole lot, but you got tithe what you're making and hope, because that's what religion's built on. It's built on faith, but it's also built on hope. And it'll be returned to you 100-fold, is what he said. Eventually, though, his congregation figured out that, like, Mitchell is just taking their money. Like, they weren't getting it back. Shocking, right? And so they sued him. But because this was, like, the mid-1970s, Mitchell was just able to disappear. And he started a new life in Orlando. And he continued his street preaching, but he's changed his name again, you guys. He changed his name to Father Love, and then he changed it again to Akmosha Israel. Sure. He then convinced this silly woman who had 3 kids of her own named Linda. Poor Linda. She's dumb. She is a dumb lady. But he moved in with her while he then just kind of studied all of the major religions, all of them. And he soon began seeing himself as this like divine connection to God. And he moved Linda and her 3 kids down to Miami in 1978, where he began recruiting members of the city's black Hebrew Israelites. And he declared himself this black Messiah. Now, if you're not familiar with the black Hebrew Israelite movement, I'm sure you are. We all are. But if you didn't, they're a group of black people who believe that they are the direct descendants of ancient Israelites. They're the real Jews, not the Jews who say they're Jews. Something like that. I think that's how it works. Pretty sure that's how that works. All right. So, the following year, he officially set up the headquarters of his new group called the Nation of Yahweh in Miami. And so now with his new fancy headquarters, he has changed his name again to Yahweh ben Yahweh. And finally, we've come full circle. We have arrived at Yahweh ben Yahweh. I told you I'd get there. I'm not going to let you down. And so he begins teaching that God and all of the biblical prophets were actually black, and that every black person in the world would soon learn the true history of the black race through his own teachings. Now, as much as a lot of churches around here would like to portray Jesus as being white, we all know that he's a Middle Eastern gentleman. And they're a little more brown, all right? They are, if you compare them to a potato, all right? They are a potato, maybe not necessarily potato, but a French fry, a steak fry, all right? Nice beefy steak fry. They're not white. Jesus was not like white, like you undercooked that steak fry. But he's also not burnt to a crisp, like you got drunk and passed out and left it in the oven for a really long time. And that's not racist, you guys. That's just a description. Things that start out white, when you burn them, turn black. I'm not saying the black people used to be white and then they just burned. That's racist. That's not what I'm saying. All right. I feel that I am on very thin ice right now with this explanation. I'm just trying to give you a visual metaphor that you didn't need. But Middle Eastern people, they were in the oven slightly longer than average, and now they're just crispy. But a lot of people like crispy fries. A lot of people like a good crispy steak fries because it's going to hold up when you dip it in your sauce. That's real solid. And that's what Jesus was. Jesus was real solid. He's pretty good. But Yahweh ben Yahweh, he's like, nah, Jesus was black. He's black, son. And all y'all gonna learn today. All right? He also told his followers that the whites and the Jews were infidels and oppressors, and that they all they needed to do was to be loyal to him, to be loyal to Yahweh ben Yahweh, and do that because he was the real Son of God, not Jesus, not that imposter Middle Eastern Jew guy. No, the real Son of God is a black guy. He's a black guy. But that's crazy. Like, there's just certifiable evidence that the people who lived in Israel were not black. All right. But it's just what happened. But despite all of that crazy and misguided rhetoric, Yahweh ben Yahweh, he actually had a really good reputation in the community because he was doing a lot of nice things. He's doing a lot of charity work, donating some money, doing a lot of nice things. Even the mayor of Miami at the time, Xavier Suarez, declared October 7th as Yahweh ben Yahweh Day. He's like a little celebrity. He's a little celebrity guy doing all kinds of nice things. So what was it like inside the Yahweh ben Yahweh cult? Well, members ate a kosher-based diet like the Jews. Interesting. They wore loose white robes, and they gave up their, quote, slave names for a biblical first name and Israel as the last name. So everybody was like Adam Israel or Seth Israel or Methuselah Israel or Nimrod Israel. Nimrod's a name in the Bible. That's silly. At its height, at least 500 people, members of this cult, lived in a warehouse that Yahweh ben Yahweh had refurbished and called the Temple of Love. And I mean, look, I'm running out of steam, you guys. That's a bad sign. All right. Each person was given a 10 by 15 foot cubicle and was forced to get up every day at 5 a.m. for chores and worship, which sounds terrible. Like, honestly, you guys, like, if that is what is required of me to go to heaven, I'm just gonna not. It's too much work. Like, I'm out of breath. It's just, I don't want to get up at 5 a.m. to do a lot of chores and worship. It's just gross. All right. I think that an omnipotent and omniscient and omnibenevolent God doesn't care. And not like he doesn't care as in like he doesn't not love his creations, but like we're all just like in a crazy social experiment. There's just an infinite number of like pathways that we can all take based on the decisions that we and other people make. Some decisions we have control of, some things we don't have control of. And like that's just life, dog. Like it's just cool. Like and God knows all of the decisions, but like, bro, like if you win first place in a competition and you're gonna stand in front of a camera and you're gonna be like, is God's plan for me to be like, no, it wasn't. God doesn't care that you won the cornhole championships, Travis. You're dumb. Like, no, Because then that means that God really, like, he created the universe in order for Travis to win the cornhole championships, but then also because kids in Somalia are just dying from AIDS and not enough food. That doesn't make sense, man. No. Like, all of these things, infinitely possibilities. They could have happened. But God isn't sitting there listening to all these people pray like, oh, God, please let me win the lottery. God, please let me win my high school talent show tomorrow. God doesn't care about that. There's a pop-up on my screen. God doesn't care. I got rid of it. God doesn't care about all of those things. All right? God has just set the world in motion. All right? Because look, get this, guys. Get this. Look at all of the pieces of carpet on your floor. If you're in your car listening to this, don't do that. That's dangerous driving. But think about your bedroom floor, or think about just a floor with carpet on it. All right? All of those if all of those individual fibers on the floor of a carpet were equal to 1 year, like that's a lot of fibers. All right, but get this, guys. That's not even like a noticeable blip on the entire timeline of the universe. All right. It's so small. We're so insignificant. None of this matters. So just be a good person. Don't be a selfish butthole. Like, just be good to each other. It's not hard. And yet there's so many selfish, dumb buttholes out there who are just selfish and dumb. Like, none of this matters. All right? It's like, I don't know, man. Anyway, let's get back to the story. I went way off track. I don't even know how long it's been. Yahweh ben Yahweh. All right, so recap where we left off. Everyone's in this 10 by 15 foot cubicle, which is probably like the size of a small bedroom. It's probably all right, but that's your entire living quarters, so it's probably not all right. They all get up every day at 5 a.m. for chores and worship. And then Yahweh, he selects this group of 10 strong men called the Circle of 10 who acts as bodyguards. And, you know, they initially carried around like wooden clubs that they called their staff of life. But then they upgraded to machetes. And I don't know what they called those, but probably like their sword of pain, because like you got bodyguards walking around with machetes. Like you're not messing with them. You're not messing with Yahweh when he's got machete guards in front of him. It's pretty dope. By 1981, the nation of Yahweh was just booming, right? They had churches in 45 different cities in 16 different countries. And they had millions and millions. That's a Rock reference from wrestling. No, I don't expect many people to get that. But they had millions of followers hanging on Yahweh's every word. And then, as cult leaders do, he let his power and popularity go to his head. So as his cult continued to grow, he sent out his male followers to new cities to plant churches. But while the men were gone, Yahweh, it was Yahweh. He's inviting their wives to live with him in his special royal palatial Messiah quarters so that he could make babies with them. And here's the thing. What's real silly about this is he was claiming this whole time that he was celibate, but obviously he was doing the, the now bow 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 bow. I don't know what I'm doing. I was going to do the let's get it on, but then I was going to just say bow chicka wow wow. And it kind of morphed into with the same things. Anyway, it was real obvious though. He was banging every single one of them black women in his cult. And guess what? Guess what, you guys? That included one of his own sisters and one of his own biological daughters. Gross, man. That's crazy. So here's some other things. So like when he wasn't banging all these women, he was educating them. And he was, he was educating them on how to properly douche themselves. And he also conducted a weekly midwife class where, this is weird, but he performed visual genital examinations on the women there. And also, this is weird, he instructed them to place their mouths on each other's genitals to, quote, give CPR to the unborn child. It's not like that would then intimate that the baby in the womb is dead. And that's just not how babies work, you guys. Like, babies have heartbeats and they're alive and stuff. And don't worry, I'm not going to get into a whole thing about abortions. Like, cause I'm a dude and it's not a discussion I'm going to have cause it's not my thing. But he was basically telling all these midwives like, hey, go put your mouth on that muff and blow in it, which that's bad. That's bad technique. If I'm being honest, you don't blow in it. Like all right, look, all right. I'm going to be crass for a moment. I know that the colloquial term for oral sex is called a blow job, but you don't blow. You don't literally blow. All right. If that's news to you, welcome to adulthood. Welcome to the real world. All right. But Yahweh, he was just like, yeah, put your mouth on that and give it a little blow. Give it a little puff of air like you're getting an astigmatism or glaucoma test at your eye doctor. Just a poof, like that right in there. Give a little CPR to that little fetus in there. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's real good. I like that. Yeah. Anyway, but of course he wasn't just going to let all of the women, the biggest lesbian porn scene of all time. He wasn't just going to let them keep all that fun to themselves. All right. He was regularly inviting women to pleasure him. And this is exactly how he asked it. He goes, how many of the sisters would mind having the king's seed? And that's a real creepy thing to say. That's real weird. And I'm insecure right now because I'm looking at my recording. I'm looking at my waves. And sometimes they're really loud. And I'm sorry if I'm yelling through the speakers at you. It's not my intention. I can't. I just can't control it right now. All right. But here's the thing, guys. He wasn't just focusing on the women. Salem's messing with some stuff. He's my kitty. He's my buddy. He's the cutest little boy. He's a good boy. Yes, he is. Oh, yeah, I'm patting that son. I'm patting that honey. Yes, I am. He likes it. He's a good boy. He doesn't have any teeth because he got allergic to them. And then we had to take them all out. I didn't know him yet at that point before he got his teeth first taken out. But he's a good boy. Yes, he is. He's a good boy. Yes, he is. Anyway, back to the story. He wasn't Yahweh. He wasn't just focusing on the women. All right. He held sex education classes for the boys and the men that had not gone out to plant more churches. But here's the thing. Rather than showing them how to properly make love to a woman, he was just showing videos of white women having sex with animals just in case, the black guys were trying to go find themselves a white woman to make biracial babies with. Because he wasn't okay with that. So he was trying to do this smear campaign where he would show porns of white women having sex with animals. And if we remember Peter Curtin's story from a couple months ago, Peter would have loved to have been in this group because that probably would have been a real turn on for him. Just sitting there like, oh yes, Yahweh. Yes, shows it as the videos of the white women, doing the sexes with the horses and the goats and the dogs and all of the things, especially the dogs. I really like it when things have sex with dogs, because I have sex with the dogs. You know, whether it's a larger breed or even a smaller little Shih Tzu. I love having sex with the dogs. Anyway. That's a great callback. If you didn't listen to that episode, go back and listen to that one. That was a fun time. Where are we at? He also, if that's not bad enough, because that's pretty bad, he also held group circumcisions, and any man who wasn't circumcised, he would order it to be done right there on the spot. Probably not a lot of anesthesia, if anything. He's just going to look at your wiener, your your black rocket, really is what it is, and he's going to be like, yo, dog, that's too much foreskin. Grab my scalpel. Slice. Blah. Good. That's the way to go. Not going to be like those uncircumcised Jews. Ugh. Anyway, that was his belief, not mine. I don't care what you do with your wiener. Despite all of this, though, the cult grew so large that they were able to open up a food distribution plant and a brewery, which was weird because they couldn't participate in the food that they were distributing or the beer they were making, but they just enjoyed taking white people's money because white people love a brewery, all right? Especially here in Charlotte, you can sling a dead hipster and hit a brewery in this town. There's so many, and they're all mostly terrible. Like, IPAs are gross, and yet you just go out there, and there's just all these hipsters with their glasses and their Warby Parkers and their boat shoes and their shorts. They're like 8-inch inseam shorts hiked up 3/4 of the way up their thigh, showing all that pasty white hamburger leg meat that no one asked for. Gross. It's all terrible, but that's all we have as white people in this town. And so you just do it. It's just sometimes they come up with something good, but you know, whatever. Where are we at? Followers of Yahweh ben Yahweh, they were commanded to go out to the streets and collect $10 every day. However they were able to do it. You just got to collect $10. If they came back without the $10, they were sent to the room of understanding. Once inside of the room of understanding, well, once you got inside, you were forced to kneel down and keep your back straight for 5 hours, which, I mean, you're probably good for like 5 minutes, but 5 hours? That's hard. That's real hard. And if you moved at all, just to try to get comfortable for a second, one of the guards would come over to you with a stick and beat you back into your standard position for $10, man. That's crazy. Outside of the walls of the Temple of Love, things weren't going much better. When a small group of dissenters tried to leave the cult, Mitchell told the rest of his congregation that deserters needed to be murdered. I don't know if that's, I don't understand the ways of God, but I'm pretty sure he's not really gonna care if you leave a cult. All right. This is a true sign that you're in a cult and that none of this is real, is when the leader's just like, hey, if anyone leaves, we're going to come murder you. Like, that's not real. All right. But guess what? On November 13th, 1981, Aston Green was grabbed by the Circle of 10 and beaten to death. And there was so much blood on the temple floor that they just decided, rather than replace the floor, they just decided to paint it red to hide the stains, which is crazy. And then they took Aston Green out to the Everglades, decapitated him, and just dumped his body in the swamp. That's nuts, right? In 1983, 22-year-old Leonard Dupree caught the Circle of 10 suspicion because he's acting a little strange, acting. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if he was like trying to hide some things, or he was leaking information or whatever. But Yahweh became convinced that Dupree was an assassin going to come over and Martin Luther King Yahweh give him the old Malcolm X treatment. Those are the only two civil rights movement people I can think of at the time. Salem. No. You're being a bad kitty. He's being a bad kitty. He wants attention. He wants to cuddle, you guys. And I'm going to cuddle him. I'm going to cuddle him so hard when this is over. I'm going to do it. But after Dupree got into a fight with another member, Yahweh just straight up confronted him and then just watched as over 70 of the members of the cult just beat this dude to death. And here's the thing. Like, if you're looking at like the standard court procedure for this, all 70 people could be criminally liable in this situation. And so just to make sure that everyone would be an accessory to this murder, Yahweh locked everyone in a room and wouldn't let them leave until he made sure that all of them hit Dupree's dead body at least one time, which is a little maniacal, very culty behavior. Soon after Dupree's murder, Yahweh informed an even higher ranking group than the Circle of 10. Or he formed. I'm drunk, you guys. It's hard to read. So he has a Circle of 10, but then he's got a group above that called the Brotherhood. And in order to become a part of the Brotherhood, you had to kill a white person, a white devil, and bring Yahweh a body parts, typically one of their ears for some reason. I don't know why. Yahweh's most prominent death angel, which is what he called, members of the Brotherhood, was Robert Rogier. And, I could have put this in last week's sports-themed episode. Why? Well, that's because Robert Rogier was a former defensive end for the St. Louis Cardinals, which, not the baseball team. There used to be an NFL team called the St. Louis Cardinals. Then they became the Arizona Cardinals because it's probably confusing having two teams called the St. Louis Cardinals in the same city. That's pretty dumb. Anyway, but Robert Rogier murdered at least 9 people on Yahweh's behalf, which is insane. In 1986, 20 women and children from this cult went over to nearby Delray Beach to do some evangelizing and recruiting, as they did. When a few disgruntled white teenagers didn't take too kindly to the racist pamphlets that were being passed out, a fight broke out that actually ended up leaving several of the cult's members injured because, you guys, it's only okay for white people to be racist. Not sure if you're aware of that. It's in the laws, probably. Yahweh then responded by sending out more members of his cult to just firebomb all of the houses in that Delray Beach neighborhood. I'm holding on. We're going to get through this. Later that year, in 1986, Robert Rogier, remember him? He's this football player. He was arrested for his murders, but initially refused to cooperate because he was telling police that he was 404 years old, which is not how humanity works. Eventually, though, police offered him a plea deal where he would only be given a 22-year sentence with possibility of parole after 7 years if he would just talk to them. And that was good enough. And this is where Yahweh ben Yahweh's empire starts to crumble. All right. Police opened an investigation into that church and they learned everything. They learned all of the things that I have told you about the giner blowing and the bestiality classes and him molesting all of the children, including his own children and sisters and all of that. All right, that's how they found it all out. And Miami police eventually charged Yahweh with several counts of murder, racketeering, arson, and extortion. But because our justice system, you guys, is just so dumb sometimes, he was actually, like, all of the murder charges were actually dropped. And he was only sentenced to 18 years in prison. And then, thankfully, though, he got cancer. He got butthole cancer. And they did release him after 11 years, but then he died like 6 months later from his cancer. And we did it. We did it. We did it. We're done with the story. Happy 100 episodes. I hope that story was at least somewhat followable. Hope you had a good time. Hope that I wasn't annoying, because I'm insecure, you guys. I'm not like some stone wall of comedy and history knowledge. Like, I got feelings, and sometimes I get a little insecure. But hopefully this was fun, and hopefully we'll stick around and see what we do for episode 200. But for now, let's see what we learned today.
What did we learn?
Number 1, black people can be racist, and racism is silly. That's more like a 1A and 1B. But basically, like, don't be racist, whatever color your skin is, because it's just dumb. It's real stupid. But also, if you're black, also just don't be racist. But, like, I hope that me singling out black people isn't considered racist, because this story was about a black guy who was racist. That's all I'm doing. Just don't, no matter what your skin color is, just don't be racist. All right, that's what we can all take away from this. But number 2, white people, look, I'm not going to lie. Like, white people, if there's a skin color that's going to be banging some farm animals or just any animals, it's probably a white person, because white people suck. Like, we're the worst. But don't use that as a deterrent to not go chasing after white women, because not all white women are banging dogs. Like, it's typically not the case. All right, so that's okay, but it's fine. No, it's not fine. That's not what I meant. It's not fine to bang animals. It's just don't use that as a don't. You know what? The more I think about it, yeah, that was actually fine. If you're dating someone and you find out they were banging animals, don't keep dating that person. That's weird. That's weird, not okay behavior. All right, that's what I'm trying to say. Regardless of their skin color, just don't be around people who bang the animals. And number 3, I did this. This is 100 episodes of a podcast that is basically just all of the books that I have written, just in audio format, because sadly, no one reads my books. Not no one, but like only a few people read my books, but more people listen to this podcast. And so that's fun. And that makes me feel nice and good. And so that's why I get drunk and do 100 episodes. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you keep listening, because it's a fun time for everybody. Next week on Our Weird World, we count down another thing to the end of the second year of season 2, I guess. And I have 2 more stories. Just a couple of weirdo serial killers. I'm going to tell you the stories of Johann Unterweger and Robert Pickton. they're white guys, because we're back to shaming white people again. But they were some serial killers. I'm so sorry for that. I'm at the end, man. I'm just gonna power through it. They're serial killers. That's it. They didn't know each other probably. But there's just two stories I'm gonna tell you guys, and we're gonna have a fun time as always. So thank you all for listening. Tell all your friends. I'm gonna go try to sleep this off now and keep it weird.